I did have an idea for a different video to do today, but when I woke up this morning, it was just gone from my head. Maybe I should write this stuff down, but there is something else to talk about, and some people are calling it the FISA-FOCA War Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. To quote the BBC's opening line, Formula One's owners Liberty Media have accused the head of the FIA of making unacceptable remarks about the championship's value, and to be honest, Liberty Media is correct. The president of the FIA, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, has made a series of social media posts where he basically valued and slapped a price tag on Formula One's commercial rights to the tune of about £16 billion. Billion. Now naturally, Liberty Media isn't too happy about this, and they are basically suggesting that the president of what is the FIFA of motorsport has overstepped the line and is going to end up doing more damage than good. And it's not the only thing that MBS has come under fire for recently. Just recently, the FIA issued what is essentially a cease and desist order to the drivers to tell them not to say anything that isn't approved by the top bods at the FIA, which has been seen as a direct targeted campaign against Lewis Hamilton, given that he is the only one speaking up for human rights abuses, racism, equality and sports washing, now that Sebastian Vettel, his partner, if you want to call him that in all this, has since retired. MBS has been accused of targeting freedom of speech by a human rights group based in Bahrain. But that's just a minefield, and I'm going to step away from that minefield now before I get blown up by that minefield, because, you know, I've mentioned a certain driver and that's going to flip the switch in some people's brains. A video that's not about Lewis Hamilton will end up becoming a video about Lewis Hamilton. Now, admittedly, I did start that, but, well, Millward's law seems to be in action a lot at the minute. So Liberty Media sent out a letter, and it's a letter that the BBC says is in response to some comments made on Twitter by MBS that was in reaction to a report by Bloomberg saying that the Saudi private investment fund had tried to buy Formula One for £16 billion, which apparently is a load of rubbish. MBS then said that it was an alleged inflated price tag, and also said that it is Formula One's duty to consider the future impact for promoters in terms of increased hosting fees and other commercial costs if those rights were to be sold, and that anybody buying has to not just be lobbing money around because they can. And when you put it that way, he's actually right. Look at the sheer amount of money that these tracks are having to shell out to host a Grand Prix, even the long-standing tracks. If you live in the UK, you'll have known a time in the 2000s where every single year there was a doom and gloom article on television sports news or on the internet about how Silverstone is struggling to pay the hosting fees. Hockenheim is a very famous example of struggling to cope, struggling even at the height of Schumacher's popularity, and so did the Nürburgring. We almost lost Spa, and places like Vegas are on the calendar because Liberty funded it themselves, and the races in the Middle East are there because they have very deep pockets and government backing. Sulayem's concern, at least from what I've read, is maximising profits at the expense of the people who you depend on to make the sport run. It doesn't matter if it's Liberty, the Saudis, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, whoever. And there is something behind it, because Formula One, like a lot of other businesses, lost a lot of money during the pandemic in 2020, and it's trying to recoup those losses in any way possible. Signing multi-billion-dollar contracts for like 10-year deals with some of these circuits is a fast way of recouping those losses. Then on the other hand, you've got some companies that made big money during the pandemic that are trying to recreate those profits, and it's just not happening. Looking at you, Nvidia. 2020 was a bogey year. Realise it. Then you run into the ticket prices. How much is it to get standard seats at Miami next year? A hotel room in Vegas on race weekend? General admission at Silverstone? I know there's inflation running rampant, but the prices are going up and up and up and up because people are trying to recoup costs for the massive expenses of hosting a Grand Prix, and the people that you depend on to go and watch those races can't afford those expenses, especially with wallets being very tight at the minute. Where the issue lies in the spat between the FIA and Liberty Media is that the commercial rights are separate to the sport, even though the FIA technically owns them. MBS has no input on any commercial say in Formula One. Liberty Media has an exclusive 100-year lease on the commercial rights, and the FIA can't say anything when it comes to commercial decisions. The basic way of putting it is, the FIA creates the rulebook, and then FOM or Liberty Media or whoever is in charge of the commercial rights markets the hell out of it and puts on the show. In the same way that there is the difference between the sanctioning body and commercial rights departments in the BTCC, V8 supercars, and things like that. There has been a group of people online saying that this is another FISA-FOCA war, that one group wants to take control here and one group wants to take control there, and there's going to be a breakaway series and things like that because Formula 1 doesn't need the FIA. Well, it does. It's the FIA Formula 1 World Championship. It's their sport, it's their category, it's their thing. They invented it. Basically, this letter reads as a long-winded way of saying, stop talking. Because while it could just be a simple case of one man expressing his opinion, which he is fully entitled to do, I mean, it's a free world, at least it should be a free world, it can be misconstrued as fact. You know how people on the internet can be. And I get it myself in these videos. It's not common, but it does happen, especially when you talk about something controversial that happened in a race. Silverstone 2021, for instance, or Suzuka 1990, if we're going to the storytime stuff. You'll get abuse and you'll get called out on something that you never said. It's like that old analogy of going on Twitter and writing something to the effect of, "Oh man, I love Cocoa Pops first thing in the morning for my breakfast." And someone will say, "Oh, so you hate Honey Nut Cornflakes, do you? What about Rice Krispies? Do you hate Rice Krispies? That's offensive to the honey monster. I'm reporting you and blocking you." And while MBS has probably made these tweets with no malicious intent and just intended to express his opinion, as the race put it, it could be interpreted that he's got some sort of insider information and he's putting it out there before the people who need to know. And then they'll need to get lawyers involved because that then has a trickle-down effect into the investors and the people who have shares in a particular thing. It's a very peculiar thing, the relationship between the FIA and its commercial rights holders. Bernie and Mosley had a very good working relationship, because they were, I'm assuming, very good friends and partners for a very long time. Formula 1 worked well, even if there were such outlandish ideas such as the medal system and the sprinklers. So what am I on about here when I say that MBS has no say in the commercial rights part of the sport? It's all part of European Union legislation. Because the FIA is a non-profit organisation and also a regulatory body, it has to be seen to be totally impartial from any sort of profit side of the, I don't know, business, as it were, and can just focus on regulating the sport that it is, well, regulating, whether that's Formula 1, the World Rally Championship, the WEC, or any other series under the FIA's umbrella, which is, it's actually pretty much all of them. It's the same sort of thing as how your local pub league in some way answers to FIFA. At a local level, the league might say that you can use 3 substitutes from a named 7, but if FIFA says that only 11 players can be on the pitch, then 11 players can be on the pitch. A similar thing happened here in the UK when British Telecom was privatised. My dad came home in a different branded van one day. Instead of having BT on the side, it now said OpenReach. What happened was the competition laws stated that companies like Sky, Vodafone and others should be able to offer their own phone and internet services, but all the equipment is owned by British Telecom. OpenReach was set up by BT to be an independent group of engineers that fix faults on any lines, irrespective of whether it's BT, Sky, Vodafone, TalkTalk or whoever. BT can't do a thing about it. So the FIA owns the sporting regulations, and then the commercial rights guys market the hell out of it. But since Mosley left the FIA's presidency, that relationship between the two doesn't seem to be there anymore. You've got the FIA wanting to do X but can't because Liberty goes, haha, cars in Vegas go brrr, and we've had rows in the past before. The FISA-FOCA war that I've done many videos on in the past, and Ballestri's absolutely mental idea of tying drivers down to teams for their contracts and things like that. This isn't like that at all. At least, I don't think so. It's someone saying stuff a little out of turn and just being reminded, excuse me sir, but you don't get to decide on this matter. It's like this line that my wife says to me all the time, jokingly of course. She'll say, "Oh, can you pick me up from work at like 4:30 or something like that?" And I'll say, "Don't really have a choice in this, do I?" And she'll say, "Well, you have a choice. You just choose how you say yes." It's basically Liberty going, "Please stop talking before you do some damage." But anyway, this has been a thing that has happened, and this has been my opinions on the thing. If this thing has made you think things about the thing, then like this thing, and for more things from this channel, click that subscribe button thing, so you never miss out on anything that I do around here. Massive thanks to the kind folks at Patreon, and as always, if you want to help contribute to the image purchases, or help contribute to the cost of keeping stuff running, like this dehumidifier that's working overtime at the minute, then there's a link to Patreon in the description, along with links to my socials. Or there's super thanks if you just want to say thanks without tying yourself down to a monthly thing. So until next time, I've been AdmiralLaWind. Have a great day wherever you are, and goodbye.